Hello, welcome to Independence Music, where I, JB, pop out of the woodwork every once in a while to make a video. Consider subscribing down below. Let's go! Now this video is mostly for people that have Floyd Rose equipped guitars. However, if you don't have a Floyd Rose, consider sticking around. You still might learn a thing or two. The same rules apply. With any instrument, including guitar, and especially with electric guitar, there are extra noises and frequencies that travel through your instrument and around the room. Some of those noises and frequencies will complement your tone, and some of them will kill it. Having a Floyd Rose equipped guitar seriously exacerbates this problem because the mechanism that makes the bridge function are springs. As you can imagine, springs add a ton of room for unwanted noise and resonant frequencies to travel through. And in case you've never seen a reverb pedal or any kind of reverb interface anywhere on the face of the planet, it is a well-known sound quality of springs to add extra noise and kind of an echo to your sound. This isn't necessarily a good thing to just have free in the back of your guitar. Now, I made a video a long time ago where I talked too much about household objects and inexpensive things that you can do to stop some of that noise in your Floyd Rose, as well as your non-Floyd Rose guitars that I will link here. However, today we are going to be focused on noiseless springs. So I am a huge fan of Floyd Rose bridges and of Floyd Rose as a company in general. However, I'm a sucker for supporting the little guy and the smaller companies. So for the noiseless springs that I'm going to put in this guitar, I went with FU Tone. Now, obviously, this isn't a sponsored video, nor am I affiliated with them. I'm just letting you know that there is an alternative to Floyd Rose out there. You can find them at fu-tone.com, and most of the stuff they sell is upgrades from regular Floyd Rose stuff. They do sell custom double locking tremolo bridges, and a lot of the other stuff is like doodads and workarounds for some of the common issues people have with regular Floyd Roses. So anyway, here is the spring from FU Tone. I'll try to get you guys a good look at it. Not sure how well the camera's gonna focus on it. It looks like a high quality spring. It has a rubberish material down the center of it that is obviously to stop resonant frequencies, and they are color coded. Now, as much as the purple will make my guitar kind of have a jokerish theme to it, which I think is pretty cool, that is not actually a stylistic choice. They are color-coded based on what tension they are. Both Floyd Rose and FU Tone sell noiseless springs in both the regular tension of a Floyd Rose spring, and then they also sell them in lesser tension for, say, players that like to use two springs, or like better flutters and easier control of the Floyd, or for, in my case, which I have a 7-string that has 4 springs. I've never been able to use less than 4 springs because 3 is just not enough tension. If I want to use the correct gauge strings, I end up burying my claw screws and still can't quite get it to tune. And since both FU Tone and Floyd Rose sell their noiseless sets in sets of 3, I went with a heavier tension set so that hopefully I can only use 3 springs and get away with it and still have enough tension to, say, support a half-step drop G-sharp tuning with like 10 gauge or something like that, or maybe even a standard drop A with 9 gauges. So I'm going to go ahead and get to putting these on, and then I'm going to make a couple comparisons, play a few riffs, and we can see what the riffs sound like without the springs and with the springs on. And then I'm going to chug around a little bit and show you what the noise sounds like without the noiseless springs, and let's see how well these things actually work. So my final thoughts on FU-Tone Noiseless springs. I like them. If I had to give them a rating from 1 to 10, 1 being total garbage, don't waste your time, and 10 being like a miracle product, I'd give them a solid 7, maybe even an 8. The only reason why I wouldn't give them a perfect score is because of the way they're advertised. If you go online and read the description, it says, FU-Tone Noiseless springs for guitar tremolos come in various strengths for any string gauge and tuning. Perfect for guitar tremolos such as Floyd Rose, Schaller, Ibanez Edge, Godot, Fender Stratocaster, and Strats. Dead silent operation keeps your guitar signal quiet and clean. Now, the springs themselves do their job very well. They stop at least 95% of the noise that is going on back there in the spring area. However, just like with any other guitar, especially hardtails, there's multiple spots that resonance and unwanted noise is coming from. One of the big problem areas other than tremolo springs is behind the nut. That's why you'll notice I've also added a fret wrap, and that's really just so I could see just how well the noiseless springs were doing their job without having other excess noise coming from behind the nut. I also know that there's a lot of stigma around using fret wraps, that the powers that be have decided it's like cheating to use them to try and get cleaner solos while you're recording or even live. I don't personally agree with that. I feel that fret wraps are just a tool. You can use them however you want, but at the very bare minimum, they are great to just sort of wrap and leave behind your nut to dampen all of that noise and make your signal much quieter and much more professional sounding. Now you can use jimmy clips, duct tape, anything you want that will stop those resonant frequencies from traveling up and down. But fret wraps are just my choice because they have many different uses. So if you prefer the Floyd Rose stuff just out of brand loyalty or brand recognition, just wanted to let you know that the FU-Tone springs are very similarly priced. Like after shipping and tax, they are within $1 of each other. And as far as the functionality goes, I am pretty sure they are about the same. Matter of fact, that actually has me interested in getting a set of Floyd Rose noiseless springs just so that I can A and B and compare the two to see if there is any differences. However, I seriously doubt it. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the actual functionality of the springs. I was worried that changing over from the 4 standard springs to the 3 more super heavy duty ones would somehow change the feel of it. It does feel like I noticed some slight differences, but they're so slight that I can't even be sure that they're actually there. So really, my opinion is they stayed the same. So, and that's a good thing. I'm glad that my tremolo feels the same with the 4 as it does with the 3. And that kind of makes sense because obviously if you're using a certain gauge string and you tune that gauge string to a certain note, that it's going to be at a certain tension. And regardless of how many springs you have in the back of your guitar, those springs have to equal the same tension as the strings for your bridge to float in a level manner and for your tremolo to function properly. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know if you have any experience with any other noise dampening devices, and if you've used any other kind of noiseless springs before. I know quite a bit, but I am always up for learning. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Like and share if you're so inclined, and I will see you next time. Peace out.